sure we'll all agree we're very honoured to be here on hallowed ground. We've got Alex, as you all know from last night and yesterday, with us today. And Alex is going to be giving a historical talk on where we are, and then Neil will lead us in the act of remembrance. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Alex Hutt, please, round of applause.
Well, welcome back to Passchendaele, where we've been yesterday. Christine told us something about the Canadians in Passchendaele. I will tell you something about the Battle of Passchendaele in general, because what happened here on the spot where we are now was totally crazy. It's sometimes they say it's the most crazy thing whatever happened in modern warfare. Well, what was the plan? The plan was in 1917 that the British troops and General Douglas Haig, you all know, maybe you've heard of him, had the plan to get the Germans out of this ridge. Because it was very important, because if he had this ridge, then his idea was going towards the coastline and try to get the Belgian harbors where the German U-boats or the submarines were, and they were very dangerous for the British ships. So the plan was to do it on the 31st of July, because that was a clever idea, because in the 31st of July it was summertime, so what could go wrong? It would, let's hope it would be the weather like it was like today. But then it started to rain. There was a big rain. So the ground where we stand on is, what is the English word? Clay? Is clay
Clay. Good word.
Yeah, and what happens with clay when it's getting wet? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, then the First World War is a war where there was a combination between modern warfare, so the modern machines, they had the machine guns, they had the airplanes, they had the tanks, etc. And the old-fashioned thinking of how we should do this war. And that came out here in the Third Battle of Ypres, because they started a huge artillery fire. Of course, that happened every day. The idea was to get the Germans out of the trenches, destroy all the barbed wire, etc. But nothing happened from that, because all the Germans were under the ground. You've been yesterday in Sonderbeke in the dugouts, and the Germans also had the dugouts. So they were safe under the ground. And they also had the bunkers, but they are still here. You can see on the cemetery. And these bunkers weren't destroyed by the artillery fire. The artillery fire did destroy something, and that was the whole landscape. They destroyed everything, because everything was wet. And now it's getting difficult, because I want to show you a picture, I think, which says everything. So therefore, I would ask you to come a little bit closer. Sorry, I have a chewing gum. Okay, this is a picture from Passchendaele, and you can see, you recognize the roundabout, and there's a church, and there are some. You already see what's happening. And you see it's a very small village, but it has several houses, farmyards, etc. This is the picture that's been taken from the air in May 1917, after 3 years of war. So there are something destroyed, but okay, can be done. Then it started. The same picture 1 year later. Everything, but really everything has been destroyed.
Wow.
There's nothing left anymore. The only thing you can see is the roundabout, and there is something left what used to be a church. And that is what has happened here. So they destroyed everything, and then it started to rain. Haig said, yeah, okay, it was my idea, and I planned it the 31st of July, so we have to do it. And they did. So the British soldiers came out of the trenches and didn't, if they succeed crossing the no man's land, yeah, they absolutely had no chance. But quite a lot of these soldiers didn't get to the trenches because they were stuck in the mud, and they drowned in the mud. So quite a lot of soldiers weren't killed by machine guns or whatever, but just by drowning in the mud. And they also had the brilliant idea of using tanks. Absolutely crazy, because these tanks, maybe they came 10 meters, that's 10 yards, and that was it. So they also were stuck in the mud. So it was a complete disaster. The battle went on from the 31st of July till, yeah, we heard yesterday it was a little bit later, but everyone says till 10th of November. It were 500,000 British casualties. Over 200,000 British young soldiers were killed in this battle. Also about 200,000 German soldiers, and also 8,500 French soldiers. But these French soldiers seems to be forgotten. If you've been yesterday in Zonderbeek in the museum, you can't find anything about these French soldiers. 8,500. I think they say, okay, what's 8,500? So there's no recognition of them of the French soldiers. Okay, then it stopped. November. What we had yesterday in December. And the most crazy thing, and that says everything about the war. Then the Canadians succeeded getting this. Yeah, what was it? It wasn't a village anymore, but they reached something what used to be a village. 3-4 months later, the Germans had the counterattack, and then the same British officer said, "I think it's wise to retreat to the same positions as before the Battle of Passchendaele." So they retreat everything till the same. So all these people totally useless. And the strange thing is that this Douglas Haig still has statues everywhere. And that is, I think he's almost a mass murderer. But that's my opinion. As almost every officer in the First World War. Okay, that's the last thing I want to tell you about the cemetery. This is where we stand here. Tyne Cot is the biggest British cemetery, military British cemetery all over the world. Almost 12,000 graves are here. And it's very strange because yesterday we've been in Langemark. And imagine that for Langemark is 45. And now you can maybe think how many were there at Langemark. And this looks huge, but it has only 12,000 graves. But it doesn't have only these 12,000 graves, because there are also, of course, quite a lot of people, soldiers missing. And there are 35,000 names of missing soldiers here on the wall. So the Manning Gate has over 55,000 names, and here are another 35,000 names. And these 35 names are after May 1917 till the end of the war. So that means there are 80,000 people, soldiers missing. We think that 40,000 of them are buried under a stone which has no known grave, and another 40,000 are still here in the soil of Vlaanderen. Okay. If you look in this cemetery, you see that 70% of the graves are unknown, and that is because it was such a, what is the English word? Devastation. It was such a devastation. Yeah. So they couldn't see anymore what was the soldier. Therefore, 70% is unknown in this cemetery.
Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away. There was no longer any sea. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from throne saying, "Look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them, and they will be his people. And God himself will be with them, and be their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eye. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away." We're now going to have a couple poems read before we come to the actual act of remembrance. So if we could have Paul Bushog is going to come and do a poem, and then Simon after that. So thank you.
This is a poem called The Soldier by Robert Brooke. If I should die, think only this of me, that there is some corner of a foreign field that is forever England. There shall be in that rich earth a richer dust concealed, a dust whom England bore, shape, made aware, gave once her flowers to love, her ways to roam. A body of England's, breathing English air, washed by the rivers, blessed by the sons of home. And think, this heart, all evil shed away, a pulse in the eternal mind no less. Give somewhere back the thoughts by England given, her sights and sounds, dreams are happy in her day, and laughter learnt of friends and greatness, in hearts at peace under her English heaven.
This is one I wrote last week, so it may not be perfect. We all met up at Fulham, the town hall, don't you know? We had decided that to the war we'd go. We signed the piece of paper and took the silver shilling and said goodbye, we'll meet again, if our God is willing. Some tried to stop the king from being patron of our game, but Conan Doyle said no, if it's all the same. He said we were fit young men, so good in the tackle, that we should serve and march in the field of battle. Then we had to go and train, you know, before we were to go. Up and down we charged and ran in the blooming snow. They let us out on Saturday to play our sacred game. Then we went right back to camp for to train again. Not only we went there, but officials and fans also. The football battalion was formed, and to the war we'd go. We had a second Louis. His name was Walter Tull, the first black infantry officer. Our life was never dull. He really was a clever guy to have as our own boss. So good was he that they thought he should have a military cross. We all fought hard, but once amongst the mines, we got together to play football right between the lines. It kept us warm and spirits high, and the enemy were fun, before we had to fight again with bayonet and gun. We fought at Delville Wood and further on the front, and on to the Battle of famous Guillemont. In Arras then we fought another battle, losing 1,000 men to the machine guns rattle. Please turn over. When the war was over and we went home again, it was a smaller bunch of men that went off in the rain. We were still men of Clapton as we marched with heads held high. We were so proud and joyous, but they never saw us cry.